Lakin and I have had our Gazelle T3X for a couple weeks now, and we have thoroughly enjoyed it so far. We've had it out on a couple camping trips, this being one of them. In fact, if you want to see us on this particular camping trip, check out the link up in the corner. And yeah, it's been a great one so far. But anyway, we're going to be talking about our Gazelle T3X and our experience with it, and talk about whether or not you might want to get one for yourself. And the short answer of it is yes, you should get one. But anyway, we're going to start out by setting up the tent, and we will time it to see how long it takes. Now, the first thing we like to do is we like to lay down a tarp. Our tarp is a cheap one from Harbor Freight. I believe it's a 7 by 9 foot tarp, and it covers the footprint of the tent really quite well. So let's do that first. All right, and we will begin the timer now. All right, and that's it. Now, one of the things I recommend that you do as soon as you get this tent is go ahead and invest in some really high quality stakes. So as you can see, Lakin is doing a great job pounding in a stake, and that's really important because one of the things people point out with these Gazelle tents is these hubs can get pushed in by the wind. So setting up some nice guy lines and stakes on either end of that should hopefully prevent that. And by the way, these heavy duty stakes, I just picked them up at Walmart. They were frankly the most expensive stakes I could find there. I'm sure you could find something even better, but they get the job done pretty well. We should mention that the Gazelle tent does come with these stakes here. So it does come with several of them. Plenty for staking things out. They're just a little bit flimsy, and I don't think I would rely on them very much. You can pretty much stand up in there, can't you?
Yeah, if you were wondering how tall the tent is at the top, well, I usually lie and say I'm 5'2", but I'm more like 5'1.25", so I'm going to say it's 5'2". So if you're 5'2" and under, you can stand up really easily.
How many people would you say could sleep in here?
We sleep two very easily with all of our stuff in here, and we've got our big foam pads, and we also usually bring our bags in here, snacks, other things.
But how many people could sleep in here?
If you needed to, you could easily get 3 in here.
Maybe 4.
Maybe 4 if you were good friends.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty comfortable with whoever was in here. You know, a family of 4 fairly small or petite people could probably make it work just fine. But in my mind, this is perfect for 2 people.
So nice.
Plus some gear.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have a tent a little bit bigger, I'd look at the T4 from Gazelle, or maybe one of their other options.
Yep. So you do have 2 different doors. This is one thing that we saw in one of the other reviews that were online, is that the doors are a bit of an odd shape to compensate for how the tent breaks down, but we haven't had a problem with them. They're still pretty fairly easy to step in and out of, you can see. It's
a pretty small compromise for having the added advantage of a quick setup and breakdown time.
Yes. So nice. We also have 6 windows, which has been really nice. Like tonight we're camping with a view. We can just keep those screens up and take the windows down and still be able to see out from our campsite. And I think my favorite thing about this tent is the removable floor. Maybe that's a more common thing in tents now, but since I was a kid in camping, that wasn't really a thing.
Oh, it's not a thing at all. It's a Gazelle tent thing.
All right, well, it's amazing. Thanks, Gazelle. So it actually, the floor Velcros on all the way around the tent.
It's sturdy too.
Yes.
It's good Velcro.
You wouldn't know it was Velcroed until somebody told you. And it makes it so easy to clean. So like we've got some grit on the floor right now, and that'll be super easy to clean up when we get home. Just tear the floor out, give it a little shake, and throw it back in. It's really nice.
All right, now one thing about the Gazelle tent that I didn't hear anybody mention, and I will mention it not really as a criticism, but just so you know about it if you purchase one of these. In the event that this tent gets rained on, first of all, which is not a problem at all, but we'll talk more about that later on. If the rainfly still has a bunch of water on it, make sure that you remove the rainfly before you collapse the inner hub. Because when you collapse that inner hub with the rainfly on it, all of that water will collect in the center, like it'll be funneled in, and when you remove the tarp, it'll all fall through the mesh in the tent onto your tent floor. Now, thankfully, like we talked about earlier, the tent floor is removable, so you can easily just take that thing out and drain the water, but it's still just one thing you don't really want to have to worry about. And if the tent's dry, it doesn't matter. You can take it up or down in whatever order, but if it's wet, just make sure you take off the rainfly first and then collapse the inner hub. All right, now to time the breakdown of the Gazelle T3X. And go. Anyway, that's pretty much it. As you can see, pretty easy. And this bag fits the tent, plus the stakes that we added to it, and a 2-pound mallet. So bag is great too. All right, we'll go over a few things that I'm sure a lot of people are wanting to know just about the overall performance of the tent. First of all, how does the tent do in the rain?
So well. Actually, the first 2 times that we used this tent, it rained on us both nights, and we couldn't have cared less. As you can see, the rain flag covers all the corners really well. It sheds the water off really, really well, and we also said that we do throw a tarp underneath it just for some added protection. But
yeah, well, honestly, the tarp, we really just throw it down just to protect the floor of the tent from the ground. Like, yeah. We don't, it's not like an added water prevention method. Coming from an old, like, dome style tent, I will say that this tent is far superior at keeping rain out. And I'm not sure if it's quite as good as a rooftop tent at keeping rain out, because rooftop tents are usually, they have really well designed, like a canopy type of rainfly that goes around them. But I don't think you're going to have any complaints with this tent. I think it will keep rain out very, very well. What about wind? We haven't really gotten to test that too much.
Yeah, we might tonight. We're up kind of on a bald in some high altitude, and it's pretty breezy now, so we might get some wind tonight. But I will say, I didn't notice any when we've camped in it so far.
Yeah, I think it would take pretty extreme wind to push those hubs in, and from what I've heard from other reviewers, having the hubs staked out just about fixes that issue. I think any wind worse than that, you would not want to be camping in it at all to begin with, but that's just something to keep in mind. It's definitely far superior to a rooftop tent.
Yes.
In the wind.
Yes.
So that's one advantage. So we showed the setup and the breakdown, and it's very fast. How does that compare to a rooftop tent?
Well, at least our rooftop tent, which to be fair was bottom of the line, so much better. The setting up the rooftop tent didn't take too awfully long, but breaking it down and getting that cover back on it took way longer than it was worth.
Yeah. Whereas this tears down just as fast as it sets up, just about. And you just put it back in the bag, and the bag is huge.
Yes, thank you for making the bag large enough for the tent, Gazelle.
Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people mention on the Gazelle tents, but I've got to say it again. It's such an important and maybe sometimes overlooked feature of these tents. All right, let's talk about whether or not this tent is good value for money, and whether it would be a good option for those wanting to get into overland or car camping style camping on a budget.
Absolutely. I mean, you know that we sold our rooftop tent and then we went and bought this for 1/3 of that money. So value for money, hard yes. And then is it a good option for overlanding? If you're smart, you can easily plan your car build to be able to carry this just as easily as a rooftop tent, and it's got all the pros, none of the cons. So yes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people might think that this is an expensive tent, and as far as ground tent goes, it is. It is.
Sure.
We bought this one used for $250 on eBay. Compared to our rooftop tent, it's a lot less.
Yeah.
However, I think brand new this tent is $320, $330 maybe. I can't remember exactly. But even if you paid full price for this tent, I'd say it's worth it.
Yes.
And if you got a T4 tent that's a little bit bigger, I'm sure whatever you pay for that, it would be worth it too. Because comparing it to our rooftop tent was, we got a bargain on it, and it was $700, but it could easily have been way more than that.
Yes.
So, and it's far better than that. And as far as other ground tent goes, I think if you spend less money on a ground tent than what you spend on the Gazelle tent, you're going to get something that's not even in the same ballpark as far as quality goes. Okay, there might be some exceptions out there. I know there was a lot of people that submitted a lot of different suggestions when we were talking about getting a ground tent, and I'm sure all of those were great options. But for the most part, tents, less than this in terms of price are probably not going to be great products to have for years and years and years, whereas this is. And then if you go above this in terms of ground tent options, you're looking at like Oz tents, or I forget the other, I'll put some other names of like canvas style tents up on the screen here. I can't remember them. I looked into all of those too, but a lot of those are like $700 and $800, and they're really nice, and those will last a lifetime for sure. However, those have some other serious cons. First of all, the price. Also, the setup and breakdown time isn't as fast as the Gazelle tent, and they take up more space, and they weigh more. To me, the Gazelle tent is easily the best all-around option. There was, however, one other tent that people mentioned that we did strongly consider, and I think it's called the Coleman Instant Cabin Tent. You could get one that's about this same size, and it breaks down about the same size, and it looked like it was a very easy setup and breakdown. And I heard a lot of people say they had some good experience with those, and those were also like, they were almost a third of the price of this tent. So
Yeah.
So that might be a great option too. I did see some troubling reviews occasionally on that tent talking about rain getting in them, but a lot of them were also really positive, so I can't really say for sure, but that seems like another great option too. But for us, the Gazelle tent, worth the money for sure. Wow, that's a massive fly. But anyway, for us, I think the Gazelle tent was the right choice for sure.
Yes, we do still consider ourselves a budget channel, but maybe that just means that instead of buying the cheapest thing, we try to be really wise with what we spend our money on, which means that we sold a rooftop tent, even though it was kind of cool, and we put our money into something better and something more cost effective.
I kind of wish that we had bought this tent from the start,
Yeah.
but I'm also glad we did have our time with the rooftop tent so that we could have the ability to describe our experience with it, and we can tell you that it's not worth having at all. I know right now on YouTube there are so many other overlanders starting to ditch their rooftop tents. I don't want to say the fad is going out of style, but I think it's on its way out now, and I think a lot of people are starting to wake up and realize that the pros of it are not worth the cons. But we'll save that for another video. We'll probably just rehash what everybody else has said, but I feel like we need to describe our troubles with the rooftop tent too, and hopefully prevent you from wasting your money on one. So anyway, we hope that this has been informative to you. I would put an affiliate link for Gazelle tents in the description, but I'm not even sure if you can buy one right now. They're really hard to come by right now. They're always out of stock because, what can you say, they're great products and they just sell out all the time. But I'll leave an affiliate link there in the event that they come back into stock. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.